What's up, guys? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip. This is season 3, episode 6. So I know I'm behind, but I'm catching up. All right, y'all. So the episode opens up, and we find out there's the continuation of Marisol's part where they're having a mocktail cocktail party where they're making those types of drinks. So while everyone's getting ready, freshening up so they can do that, I think the theme was like cream colored or white. Everyone had on like different variations. You see Pepsi in the confessional room, and you can tell that he's really upset. He's upset. And I felt bad for him because Pepsi gives me the type of person that takes a lot of pride in their job and that loves to help people create memories as a host. That is probably, like, not probably, it's bothering him that these women are acting this way, or that he can't solve Giselle's problem of like who stole the Casa Azul. That's broke behavior anyway. But he's upset, but he was like, you know what? I need to talk to these women. So all the women go and they sit down in the den area, and Pepsi pretty much reads them their rights. He was like, y'all are weird. Y'all are fake. 1 minute, y'all are cool. Everyone's having a good time laughing and embracing one another. The next minute, y'all are cussing each other out and like trying to rip each other apart. That's weird to me because everything that I've said to y'all has come from my heart. So I felt for him while he's having this having this speech and talking to these women. You got Giselle and Porsha in the corner on the couch, like having a full-blown conversation where Giselle pretty much feels like, I don't know why he upset because he don't live here. I think let me see, what did she say? She said, she was like, he doesn't live here. He doesn't own this house. He's getting a check. Porsha's whole thing is like, ooh, I could tell that he was feeling some type of way. But I'm looking at Giselle like, okay, he doesn't live here. He doesn't own the house, but he's the hostess. And like you said, he is getting a check. So he wants to make sure y'all are having a good time. And the way that y'all have been behaving thus far has not been good. Y'all have not been having a good time like that. So he's trying to reroute the energy. So I'm looking at Giselle like, girl, get over yourself. Everybody apologizes except Giselle. Porsha gave a half apology, but everybody else pretty much said like, yeah, I'm sorry. Like you got Heather and Whitney apologizing, Marisol and Alexia apologized. Candace was the first one to put up her hand and like apologize and be sincere about it. And then Leah was trying to have a moment with Pepsi, and then Porsha interjects talking about like she's sorry because the Leah was trying to say, you know, like you made me feel very like safe and protected when I passed out at the story when I heard your voice, and she cuts her off. You got Heather and Marisol being like, girl, you just cut her off. Like she was trying to have a moment with Pepsi because Leah was getting real like teary-eyed. Mind you, Leah to me puts on. Like I didn't feel any genuineness from it, but I still think it was messed up for Porsha to like interrupt her while she was speaking because no one had interrupted Porsha prior to this in this conversation. So in the confessional, you got Porsha talking about, you know, I don't think Pepsi understands who we are. We're housewives. Like we're not normal guests. And I'm like, what does being a housewife have anything to do with your behavior when, like, what does that mean? Like, I was like, Porsha, being a housewife does not mean that y'all just be out here fighting for no reason. And I'm looking at Porsha like, girl, the last time you were on TV and out the country, you showed your entire ASS, bro. Like your family jumped your child's father and tried to jump the mama too. Like there's pictures of you on the internet of trying to throw plates at him. What do you mean, sis? Like, if anything, you should be the first person that's trying to prove that I know how to act when I get out this country. I got common sense. And then for Giselle to be like, I don't think Pepsi can handle us. Maybe we need some Coke and some Coca-Cola. No, Giselle, you're a dick. You are an absolute dickwad, bro. Because at the end of the day, even if because I tell y'all this all the time, I don't apologize if I don't mean it. I don't. If I don't mean my apology, I'm not apologizing. Even if I wasn't the one that was outside arguing or acting crazy, because if I was Whitney or Heather or even Marisol and Alexia, I probably wouldn't. I'd probably be like, "Ooh, why are you talking to me like this? I've been doing my thing. I've been in my zone." But they're a unit. They're a group. So even I would have been like, you know what, Pepsi, I'm sorry. Like, yeah, we've been wilding out. I am so sorry, and I'm sorry that we have distressed you this much. Like, I would do that. That's what an adult does. But for Giselle to not feel the need to apologize is lame, because you're the only person that didn't. Porsha, like I said, Porsha gave a half apology. I think Candace was the first one to apologize, and everybody else followed and apologized. And the fact that you couldn't do that says a lot about you. And it reminds me of this TikTok that I saw, that this guy said, when people treat service workers or people that work directly with the public like trash, it's people cosplaying and role playing like power dynamics, because in their real life nobody respects them. They don't hold any power. They don't call the shots. And that's a lot of the times what you see when you see people having outbursts in like public areas when they can't get their way or they feel like they're the authority, is because in their real lives they hold no power. They hold no weight. That's why they get upset and frustrated when people start laughing in their faces when they lash out, because they know for themselves that they have low self-esteem, and nothing they do or nothing they feel like they do holds value to other people in their lives that treat them like trash. So for the fact that Giselle couldn't just muster up like, yeah, I'm sorry, or my bad, like she always likes to do, my bad, says a lot about you when you've been the main one starting things. And that's the issue with this cast. Because if you look at the other two seasons, it was a different vibe. Like, a lot of people felt like the first one was the best one because it was the first one and it was a new experiment. And it seemed like a lot of the ladies that came on the first Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip came with the intent to have a good time. Came with the intent to have a good time and really get to know the other women and really have a positive experience. And even with the second one a lot of people felt was boring, and that's the freshest one on my mind because I reviewed it. But a lot of the issues that happened between them, yes, alcohol made them a lot more worse, but the issues that they had felt genuinely authentic. Like, it felt like, okay, this is what would happen when you put a bunch of women in a house that have larger than life personalities, and they don't know how to like back down. Like, there's gonna be organic drama. This feels put on. Giselle's whole Casa Azul thing was so stupid, and like I said in the beginning, it gave broke behavior, because what are you doing running around about a $200 or $150 bottle of alcohol? Am I spending that much on alcohol? No. But for you to be the person that's like, you got money, then that shouldn't have pissed you off or had you that distressed. Y'all are out on vacation in another country where y'all are drinking constantly. I would have assumed the bottle was gone. Like, they threw it away because it was empty. Like, it wasn't that deep for you to try to play like Scooby-Doo mystery, trying to figure out who took your bottle. And you made, like, Giselle did that to manufacture beef. And it was like, things were already kind of happening organically. Like, I feel like had she let it play out where they were just upset about the tagging and stuff, and that felt kind of, even though that was manufactured by Porsha, because Porsha wanted to get a rise out of Aaliyah and Candace, it still would have flowed better than Giselle being upset about this stupid bottle of alcohol. So they leave. They all go make their mocktails and cocktails. And it looked like it was fun. Everyone was laughing and kikiing. And then they sit down to have dinner. Giselle gets the party started again, where she's like, Leah, I told Porsha that, you thought she like hated you. And Porsha's like, who said I hated you? I never said that. And Candace was looking at Porsha like, girl, you said something to that effect. So then we have the confrontation with Leah and Porsha. So, like I said, Porsha and Leah are going at it. And Portia's like, I never said I hated you, Leah. I just said I don't like you. Like, I don't really know you. And she's like, Portia's like, I feel like you really haven't been trying to, like, get to know anybody, you know. And then Leah cuts her off, and Leah's like, I have been getting to know people. I talked to Candace, Whitney, and Heather. Like, that's who I've been talking with the most, and I've been gotten cool with them. And Portia's like, there's no beef, Leah. It's just like, I don't like you. So Leah matches that energy and is like, okay, well, I don't like you either because you've been real like, to me. And so Portia's like, bye, Leah. Bye, Leah. Bye, Leah. And then Leah's like, bye, Porsha. Bye, Porsha. Bye, Porsha. And Portia's like, you know what, Leah, you're trying to have a moment with me. This is what you're trying to do. You're trying to have a moment, and like, we're not going to have a moment. We're not going to have a moment. So Whitney chimes up and she's like, well, Leah, if I could give a word of advice, it does seem like you've been complaining a lot. You're not feeling well. And it just you kind of feel like you kind of been dragging, which is true. Because for the first 3 episodes, to me, it felt like Leah didn't really want to be there. Like, it felt like, you know, she was trying to go along to get along, but really she wasn't feeling well, which sucks that the food is not really agreeing with her stomach, and like she's PMSing during this time. But it does kind of give this energy that like it's like stank vibes. Like, Leah's not somebody I think I would want to go on a trip with because she gives stank vibes. So as the conversation is continuing, Marisol chimes in and she was like, you know, we haven't really gotten to know everybody, but she was like, Marisol's like, I feel Heather has been doing the best, you know, like trying to get to know everybody. You know, Whitney and Candace, we've had private conversations with, even though I feel like Candace is loud, and that was a microaggression from Marisol, because I'm like, Marisol, sis, what are we talking about? You be squawking your side of the table. Miami likes to squawk. Okay, the last season, all y'all arguing at Alexia's house because Alexia's like, yeah, we're not loud. Lies. The way Lisa had to tell y'all on that couch that she was embarrassed by that scene because y'all looked like a bunch of children, and even that man looked embarrassed. The lawyer who y'all had there. So Marisol's like, whoever thinks Candace is loud, raise your hand. And Candace says, of course y'all gonna think that way because y'all up Portia's butt. And Portia's like, oh, you want to be up there too? And Candace is like, no, not really. And my thing is like, Porsha thinks too highly of herself. Like, don't get me wrong, you are supposed to have self-confidence, but it's like, Porsha, you're like, here's the thing. I used to be a really big Porsha fan. Like, when Atlanta came out, Porsha and Nene were like my favorites. Like, Porsha and Nene could do no wrong to me. And when it comes to Porsha, I liked Porsha in the beginning because she was the youngest. She was bubbly. She seemed like she was cool and down to earth. But Porsha gives very much mean girl energy. Porsha knows she's pretty. Porsha knows a lot of people find her attractive and want to be around her. And she uses that as leverage. And nothing is wrong with that. But use it for good, sis. Like, you be nasty to people. And it's like, Porsha. Like, okay, it's not that deep. Like, nobody wants to be up there, but Porsha is moving like she's in high school. Her and Giselle are moving like they're in high school. So they get off of that conversation, and then while they're talking, Candace leans over on the table to tell Leah, I wish Heather would speak up, because Heather was dragging Giselle in the Sprinter. And they flash back to the scene after Giselle told Heather she was suspect number one, and that she didn't trust anything that came out of Heather's mouth. So Heather is talking, and Heather pretty much tells Giselle, like, Heather's like, you know, I've been trying my best to get to know everybody because I want to be open to this situation, but I'm not gonna lie, like, Giselle, you really rubbed me the wrong way, where I'm like, I don't really even want to fool with you, because you pretty much attacked my integrity and my character by saying that you don't trust me and you think I stole the bottle. And you could tell that Giselle was taken back that Heather said what she said, especially once Heather was like, I honestly wanted to flip the table and throw some food in your face, because what was that? How dare you say that? And I think once Heather said, yeah, sis, I wanted to flip tables on you, Giselle started to act right, because Giselle knows she couldn't take Heather if Heather really wanted to fight her. And Giselle was like, no, you're lower down on the list now. You're lower down on the list now. And Heather was like, Giselle, you're the person I couldn't get close to or get to know. But what it tells me is that, like, you don't want nobody there and you, like, aren't available for that. So I'm cool over here. So then Giselle was like, we have 2 days left. Like, can we restart? And Heather's like, I guess. But Heather's just like, I came in on this trip, like, wanting to be picked, wanting to be friends with you guys. And Giselle's like, girl, why are you being that way? And Heather really clocked Giselle, because she was like, Giselle, I'm trying to be vulnerable. Like, I'm trying to be vulnerable. And the fact that Giselle was like, oh, I don't know, because people aren't vulnerable around me. Girl, the fact that people don't feel safe being, like, vulnerable around you, and maybe, like, other people do that you have friendships with, like, ew, that people don't want to be, like, you don't make people feel comfortable enough where they can see you as somebody that they can confide in. I was like, Giselle, stop being an asshole and a bag of dicks. So they continue the conversation. Whitney and Heather kind of, like, reconcile, because Whitney is so impressed that Heather spoke up to Giselle, as well as, Heather was talking about, like, I'm loyal, because Marisol was like, no, you seem very loyal to, like, people that are your friends. And she was like, yeah, she was like, people say all the time, why am I still sticking up for Whitney and stuff like that? And she was like, because I love her and I'm loyal to my friends. So they reconnect. They outside hugging. It's starting to rain. They end up, like, jumping in the pool. Then, like, I think Leah, Marisol, and Candace gets in the pool with Whitney and Heather while they jump in their clothes. And it just seemed like they were having a fun time. And what sucks is that you can count how many times this group has had fun together compared to how many times they have fought. And, like, they have fought more than enjoying each other. Like, I even think about season 2. They fought a lot, but it was like, it kind of, to me, balanced with how fun people were having and how deep people were getting and sharing, like, things that hurt them and showcasing their trauma and really trying to, like, help everybody understand and bond and get to know each other. And you have not seen that in this group. Like, it has not hit. So it's the next day, and we find out that they're going to the temple, and they're finally going to gift the boxes or the care packages that they purchased for the monks in the episodes past. And so while they're doing that, we see that Whitney is the one that's going to host the evening dinner, and it's supposed to be tantric eating. And I Googled it, and I got, like, several different things. Like, I got the 4 rituals of Tantra when it came to it, and and then I got another one that had, like, a sexual kind of a connotation to it, because that's what I thought Tantra was. But pretty much it says, like, Tantra is supposed to be, like, clean eating, where all things are supposed to be fresh, and then I guess afterwards you're supposed to do adult things, from what I read online. And I think that's similar to what Whitney was trying to explain what Tantra was. I was just confused. I'm not even gonna lie, I was confused. But when I look at the food versus the definition that I read, it kind of makes sense, because it didn't look like anything on their plate was, like, deep fried. It looked like everything was very clean and very, like, low on seasoning. So, they all like, before they get into the sprinters to go to the temple, everyone's sitting down at the dining table and, like, waiting. And next thing you know, you see Leah pop up fast as hell, and she takes off. And so Candace runs after her to make sure she's okay, and we find out that she's vomiting in the bathroom. We also find out that the temple was supposed to be her thing. I did kind of think it was like a little messed up that nobody went to go check on her. I don't expect Porsha or Giselle to, but I did kind of expect Heather or Whitney to go behind and see if she was all right. And even Marisol and Alexia, because they still have hung out with Leah besides Giselle and them. So I was just kind of like, But Candace went and checked on her, and we find out that like she's not going to be able to do it for today. And that sucks, because I feel bad that she's not really having a good time on the trip. Like, you know, her stomach messed up. She PMSing. Her stomach doesn't agree with the food that's been in. Like, you can tell she don't be spicing her food up. And it's just kind of like, dang, because I've been there when I've been on trips where I felt like crap in the beginning, but luckily, like, it subsided by the time, like, as the trip continued. Like, I wasn't like in a mood, but it's understandable why Leah is grumpy, because she seems like she's having a horrible time. So we find out that she's not going. So they all decide to pile into the sprinters, and you got Heather, Giselle, and Porsha. Heather is elated to be in the car with them, talking about, I feel like Regina George picked me. She just said, get in, loser. And I'm like, Heather, stop. Stop. You're a grown woman. You are a grown woman. Man, stop it. Stop it. So Heather is like, yay, I'm so excited. But there's something I noticed is that Giselle has not rode in a car without Porsha, and vice versa, where I feel like everybody else has at least done it like once. Like, I feel like Leah and Candace split up one time. I also feel like we seen Whitney and Heather do it a few times, and we even saw Marisol and Alexia do it. But I feel like I have not seen Porsha or Giselle split up in one. It's always the two of them in the car together. And I find it funny, and I also feel like that lends to the notion of like Giselle can't do stuff without somebody beside her. Like, I feel like Giselle would not be as bold as she is on Potomac if she didn't have Robin. Because I think Robin, and even in this moment, Porsha gives her a sense of security that like, oh, I can fall out and argue with everybody and push everybody to the left because I have my friend by my side the whole time. Like, this person is riding with me. And that's what I get from Porsha and Giselle, because it's like, y'all really haven't split up. Like, I don't remember not seeing Porsha riding with Giselle. I feel like I know I've seen Marisol and Alexia and Heather break up, and Whitney and them break up and go into separate cars. I feel like I saw Candace and Leah do it at least once, but I could be mistaken. But I feel like I have seen them be like split up and get in one car, but I have not seen Giselle do it or Porsha. But they get to the temple. It's beautiful. We find out that Leah went to the hospital. They do the prayer, and like Pepsi is doing a really good job like interpreting and like explaining to everybody what everything is. Like, they were rubbing letters on statues where it's supposed to be like, if you touch the knee, that's for like travel, like prosperous travel. I think the other one was like for better thinking. Heart meant like life. Like, I was like enjoying the learning and learning about the rituals that they do. You then see them sit down, and they're supposed to pour water and ask for I guess that was part of it, to ask like if they could like speak to the monks. So then they go to the monks and they actually gift them, say their names, and like then they bow their heads, and the monks begin to pray over them. And it seemed really nice. They then go outside and they all grab these notes before they sit down. And I guess like in each paper, it was supposed to be something about who they are. All I got from this one is Pepsi told Giselle that like the man you with gonna be broke. And then he told Porsha she got the lesbian spirit on her. I said, how you get that from these letters? It was funny. Everybody else's was pretty much like prosperity over their life type energy. But it was funny because Porsha was like, pause. But it was really nice. We see everybody getting ready for the tantric eating. We see that Leah was on FaceTime with Candace, and I think Leah was in the hospital because the phone ended up freezing at the end of their conversation, and she just wanted to know what went down, and Candace said pretty much nothing. Like there was like they didn't have nobody to complain about, nobody to mess with, so nothing. We see Whitney on the phone with her husband. Don't know what they were talking about, but we see everybody get to the table and they're all sitting down and they're eating the food. And honestly, I couldn't do it with that oyster. I like oysters, but I like fried oysters. It's a texture thing for me when it comes to oysters. Like it tastes slimy. That's why I don't like Jello. Jello tastes nasty. Like Jello's consistency, it don't sit right with me. Like I was just, it's like, ugh, no, I don't like either one of those things if they're like, especially oysters if it's not fried. Jello, I do not eat Jello. I can't do it. I have tried to make myself like Jello, especially when like you want to lose weight. A lot of people say eat Jello, and I can't do it. The only time I like Jello is if it's infused with alcohol and I'm doing Jello shots. But they like all get down to the table and they're like having dinner, and then they all start talking about like, eggplants of like, different variety and sizes, and I wasn't really into it. I was just kind of like, y'all aren't fun. Like this is kind of corny. They're all like yelling at the table, kikiing and giggling, but like for some reason I wasn't mad at it, but I wasn't like interested in it, and I just wanted them to get to something else, because I was just like, oh, okay. Heather tells him that she be running away from big eggplants. Alexia wants to know, is it the motion of the ocean, or like, or is it like the package matters? It was just like, oh, okay. So then Whitney ends up sharing like the most chaotic thing she's done on the show that like changed her life, where she talks about when her and her husband was like had body paint on them, and they were like sexually wrestling one another on live TV, that like on national TV, and he lost his job. His job pretty much said either you tell your wife to get off the show and you keep your job, or she stays on that show and you lose your job. And it's basically that's what happened. And Whitney talked about she wanted to quit the day she found out that he got fired. And I was looking at Whitney like, you're a dummy, because why are you about to quit a actual like paying job while your husband doesn't have a job? Because the fact and I'm glad that he told her like, no, stay on the show, because there's no way like you're going to be dictating my life outside of the show. But I do think it was poor judgment on both Whitney and her husband, because who in their right mind, if they're especially associated with like other things, would want to see like their employee or their like CEO of a company or somebody in higher management like wrestling in panties and bras and boxers on TV. It was weird, and it was like embarrassing AF. And then they tried to show us like other ones where Tamra and her man was in the tub together. That looked disgusting. Then they did Teresa and Joe, disgusting. And then they did Adriana and I think, is that man like Ferdinand or Free, whatever her ex-husband's name is, when she was on Miami the first season, trying to do a strip tease. And that was so awkward. Like every time they showed a clip, I got uncomfortable. So all of the ladies are commending Whitney and her husband, and they're saying, your husband is a keeper. Like you should definitely like hold on to him. He's a good man. So then they end up having like a good time, because they get strippers, and they all like strip on the stripper pole and like do different tricks and stuff like that. And while like Whitney's the best at it, like she was doing her thing, and Alexia is sitting there judging her. And I'm looking at Alexia like, what are you judging her for? She's a grown woman. And I'm like, Alexia, what are you judging her for? Like, you were married to a drug dealer, and the way that you behave on Miami is not the best representation. Like, you be out here screaming and wilding out like a banshee, saying some of the most disrespectful stuff. So for you to look at Whitney like she crazy because she twirling on a pole is wild to me. So then we see Whitney and Candace get into their swimsuits, because they're like really wanting to continue to have a good time and have a conversation. And they go and get their blunts that they got from the dispensary when they went out last episode, and they're just smoking and laughing and joking and having fun. Candace ends up going to bed. Whitney is still like having a fun night, so she goes and gets a chicken wing or a drum from the KFC bowl from bucket from downstairs, and then she goes outside. And she's like trying to get into one of the inflatable pool tubes to like sit in the pool and eat and be on her phone. But she flips over. And when I tell you Whitney only cared about her phone, because you see her hand stay straight as she's flipping over in the water. Like she was like, this phone will not get wet. It will not get wet. And that's how the episode ended. And I give her props, because I'd have been upset if my phone got wet. But yeah, y'all, that is it. That is all. Remember to be bravely authentic and hop down in them comments below. Deuces.